guys, welcome back to Contest Prep University. I'm Joe Klemczewski with Adam Atkinson. We're going to continue right on with our series on how to manage peak week. And we left off kind of a part 2 with sodium and potassium. And just as a little bit of a backup, I want to make sure people know that the USRDA for sodium, for somebody who's not even necessarily sweating and active and training hard, is around 2,500 milligrams. So when we're talking about adding sodium, I think a lot of people eating clean, unprocessed food can underestimate how much sodium we actually need. And so especially as a competitor, if you've decided, in that very bro science way, you're just going to eliminate all sodium, you can crash hard into just losing all of your muscle fullness. So let's talk about, Adam, some of the sodium just naturally occurring in our food is in protein. And so just to talk about protein and fat as another couplet of variables for peaking, do you manipulate sodium and fat much? I certainly, want to at least touch upon fat loading as a concept, but what do you do with protein and fat through peak week?
So protein usually stays pretty stable for me as a variable unless I'm pulling that down to make more room for carbs. So somebody that's really an ectomorph. But at the end of the day, it will really come down to those calories. So I don't do that too often because I think it's really hard to shove down a lot of carbs and just not have any protein go in with it. But fat depends on how I'm loading somebody with carbs. We might have to raise fats just to chase the carbs up because it would be nearly impossible for them to stay such low fat. But also one of the big reasons I might manipulate fat for somebody is if they have trouble with digestion, having a little more room to maybe insert some flaxseed or something like that to make sure they keep going to the bathroom during peak week. During that load. But also fats are so heavy in molecular structure, it can be really risky to, increase those so high and then, just wait forever for them to really hit the system or, help load the muscle cells, so to speak. So
I can see why you've been so successful as a coach. Everything you talk about is so not only perfect in my mind because it's actually rooted in science and especially metabolic science, but I would just completely agree. Fat does not have much thermic potential. Fat is not going to help you with glycogen load. Fat is just something that you really don't need. But like you said, if you don't want to just keep shoving more carbs in, you can increase fat a little bit at a time, and that spares glycogen. So you get a glycogen sparing effect. So you're not using it as quickly. So exactly like you said, if somebody just, you don't want to risk too much carbohydrate or they don't digest it well, that's a good reason to push fat up a little bit, especially at the end of the week. Since I do a progressive linear load, I want those carbs to be more effective. I don't want them churning through the glycogen too quickly. So I might also raise fat at the end just a little bit. Maybe even similarly with protein, I might, have protein scheduled to be the same, but since I'm monitoring day to day, I also might increase that at the end. So is there anything you ever manipulate heavily with protein or fat?
Sometimes if I have a client with what I like to call a runaway metabolism, I might really bump the fats up towards the end. And I call that kind of like pumping the brakes. We're giving them tons of carbs and they just keep getting tighter and their body is getting, and this happens with bikini competitors where you don't want to be too lean sometimes. I like having lean bikini competitors, but if you're taking them outside the criteria with hardness, that's not going to be a benefit to them. So we might bump those fats up just to try to pump the brakes because carbs are going so high calorically. They might not be able to fit that many carbs in, and some fats kind of help stall that, that such leptin spike that they're having with the carb load, and that can kind of blunt that and help save us from being too tight on contest day, which sounds like a pun, but it is bikini, and it's champ one day, chump the next.
Right. And in like Adam is saying, guys, it's a matter of using fat to be somewhat glycogen sparing. There's no such thing as fat loading. We don't load muscle tissue with fat.
No.
If you get any benefit from that extra fat, it's probably because you are just sparing some glycogen. But we're gonna continue on. We got just a couple more episodes in this series on how to manage your peak week. So we will see you next time on Contest Prep University.